Well, table tennis really has played a key role in U.S. China relations. It all started 50 years ago, of course, and conditions were very different back then. In 1971, the U.S. and China hadn't talked to each other for 20 years. The governments wanted to meet and re engage and tried to send signals, but the signals were missed. But table tennis was a way for them to get together. And there's some very fortunate coincidences. I think the story goes that one of the American players missed his bus, took a bus with Chinese players, struck up a friendship, and that led eventually to the invitation for ping pong to be played in China. And that led a year later to President Nixon actually traveling to China and having a summit with Mao Zedong. So very rich history there, and I think it's terrific that this event is happening in Houston. I guess it was canceled last year because of COVID. Glad to see it's going ahead this year.
The slogan for that very first event way back then was friendship first, competition second. Some say it could still be used today. Talk to us about sports and people-to-people exchanges and their role in diplomacy.
Well, in diplomacy, we call this public diplomacy. These are government-encouraged efforts that include people-to-people exchanges that are aimed at increasing direct interaction between the people of the two countries. Public diplomacy differs because it's not just about officials, it's also about real people, bringing the benefits of the relationship to real people who are doing things sometimes that are fun, like playing tennis, but also building friendships and trust and increased commitment to the bilateral relationship. So I think this is one of the best ways to deepen the commitment between the two countries. And it can happen at an individual level, a group level, a society level, at a government level. Lots of ways to do it. And I strongly encourage both countries to think more about it.
We know that this event, as you mentioned, was postponed from last year because of COVID, and that months and months of preparation have taken place for this event to be held in Houston, Texas. Talk to us about what's happening behind the scenes, because there had to be some diplomacy there as well. Both countries having to work with one another, get these athletes from all over the world, but especially from China into Houston. And just want to point out that Houston also calling itself the most diverse city in the United States.
There is a large Chinese community in Houston. I'm sure there had to be a lot of preparations. We're all worried about COVID. We don't all agree on exactly what steps need to be taken to respond to COVID. And China has its view. Houston may have a little bit different view. So lots of logistics that went on, and there have been some tensions between the U.S. and China recently. So I'm glad to see that they were able to overcome those potential obstacles to try to get together and to hold this event that has such a rich history.
All right.